Welcome to A Hunter's Guide. Today we have a fellow hunter joining me to discuss the do's and don'ts of surviving a Wendigo. Again, we aren't here to convince anybody to believe in monsters and ghosts, or to tell you to go out to hunt. We're here to tell you what to do if you're in a dangerous situation and can't call a professional. If you have any questions, reach us on Instagram at a.hunters.guide. Today we're going to be covering a couple stories and lore, so let's jump into it. First, the story of an anonymous user we'll be calling Wyoming. On September 13th of 2016, Wyoming was driving up to Bighorn Mountains above Buffalo, Wyoming. As usual, he packed 2 bottles of water, 6 protein bars, and a loaded handgun. The only thing to fear in these mountains were the seldomly seen predators and weather. But on this particular day, Wyoming decided to change his route from his usual camping grounds. He went to a remote campsite known as Hettinger, 15 miles north of town. It's a beautiful spot where over the fence is a mountain peak that lets you see for miles. That's where Wyoming first saw it. Over the snowy landscape, there was a tall, slender figure marching through the snow.
And another interesting fact is that he's, an experienced camper. He has all this gear. But what's interesting is normally campers don't bring, a gun. They normally have, a satellite phone or something in case of emergencies so they can call for help. This man just decided, hey, let's bring a gun, just in case I want some wild animals.
Well, sometimes you just need a weapon with you, alright? So, you never know, especially up in Wyoming, there could be bears, whatever. You're gonna want something. Me, I always take a machete, forget the satellite phone. Well, alright. Normally, he'd expect the thing to be a hunter. But Wyoming was nowhere near any hunting grounds. Lucky or unlucky, he had his binoculars with him and decided to take a peek. As the figure came into focus, our poor soul collapsed behind the rocks, terrified that when he took a look, the creature was looking right back at him. Wyoming was 1,000 feet away behind a rock, but yet this thing was staring right at him, unfaltered at all.
But you've also got to remember, a Wendigo is like a near perfect hunter. It has the hunting instincts of just pure rage and endless hunger. So if it spots you, it's gonna gun for you because you are the nearest meal.
Well, the thing is, most Wendigo, especially up in the mountains, they're practically blind, but their other senses are on hyperdrive. See, little Wyoming, when he peeked back up, without his binoculars, even from there he could see the creature sniffing the air, staring in his direction. His heart sank and he froze. Behind him was a cave easy enough to squeeze in and hide in. He was slowly backing into it when he saw the beast running straight at him at full speed. Wyoming moved as fast as he could and tucked through. The second he looked back, the creature was standing just feet away, its skin damp and gray, long hands and fingers to match that turned to dagger-like nails. Wyoming cupped his mouth to hide his breath in the cold air. That's when a rock tumbled beneath him. When he looked up, there were cold, dead eyes staring deep into the hole Wyoming managed to squeeze in. I guess it must have been really tiny if he could fit in, but the Wendigo couldn't. I mean, it must have been a really tall creature.
Well, Wendigos all have the same basic look. Glowing eyes, long yellowed fangs, long tongues, and a lot of the legends describe them as 9 to 15 feet tall. These are big dudes, and they're always thin, emaciated. Their skin is stretched so tight over their body that you can literally see their bones through the skin. And in some cases, I found out that they have stag skull heads, apparently. It's a little weird because I've only seen it mentioned once, but, if you see a stag skull head on some figure standing in the middle of the woods, I'd fucking run the other direction, too.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. A lot of the lore I was looking into actually mentioned the stag skull a lot, and that kind of threw me off because all other lore that I've heard before, all stories, all portrayals, how personal experiences alone, I've never even heard of antlers on a Wendigo. But suddenly, half the lore I'm seeing is talking about like them shifting forms or whatever. I'm pretty sure a lot of it they just mix up with skinwalkers and just shapeshifters in general. Well, the thing is, this Wendigo, it couldn't see him, but it could sense something was there. Wyoming froze as the beast reached in and nearly grabbed his pack. It clawed for several minutes before giving up and taking a step back to sniff the air, before I guess it just ran away or, try to hunt down some other prey. Wyoming took his time to keep his steps quiet and get back to his car. After a long, terrified breath, he finally cranked his car and drove off, but the second he looked back in his rearview mirror, he could see it just watching him. And he didn't look back in that mirror for several miles after starting to drive. So that thing obviously chased him for who knows how long as soon as he heard that engine start. But he was lucky to get away because, a Wendigo usually never goes up a hunt. And this guy was clearly smart enough to never go back because, that Wendigo would never give up his scent.
Even if you could escape physical damage from a Wendigo, it still carries a lot of mental damage because you've seen something that your entire life you've been told that things like Wendigos don't exist. And you happen to run into one and they sunken eyes glowing, yellowed fangs in their mouth, like transparent skin that's also decaying, and they're like 9 to 15 feet tall. Holy shit. I'd be crapping myself while frantically searching for my keys.
So now that Wyoming's over, the second story was told by Howard B. LeBlanc by his father, a French-Canadian fur trapper. Mr. LeBlanc worked northeast of Huntsville, Ontario as a boy before Algonquin Park was a managed area. As this time, the lumber trade was very active, so there were plenty of hunters and fishermen using the logging roads to get access deeper into the thick woods.
The Algonquin tribe is where a majority of the mythology and the legends of the Wendigo come from. And the funny part is that there's actually a cave of the Wendigo, and it's in Ontario near Lake Memegwes. And that's where a lot of the sightings were in Ontario or like Minnesota during the 1800s, early 1920s. That's where a majority of the sightings were.
Funny enough that you mentioned that. I'm pretty sure this tale happened around there because they never had a name for the lake they were at. See, the Sears were a father and son from Chicago, Illinois, on a hunting trip for moose in the region that were guided by an Algonquin Indian, French-Canadian guide. His name was Little Jack, or, that's what they called him. Little Jack had built himself quite the reputation. In the region for hunters, so many rich folks saw him out just for guidance because he just knew the area so well. In October of 1894, deep in the woods following the rim of a lake, presumably the one you mentioned, the hunters and guide were on the hunt. They paddled the main trunk of the Mattawa River along the Ontario-Quebec border, taking a branch creek north into Quebec. On this 2-day trip, many moose were seen, but the Sears were looking for a trophy prize, something a little bigger. So they pressured Little Jack to take them deeper into the wilderness where nobody else would dare to go. With hesitation, Little Jack agreed to take them to the lake. He knew of the lake. But he explained that they're only allowed to hunt during the day. As soon as we hit midday, he feared that we need to head back and, call it quits for the day, come back tomorrow. But the seers just called him, didn't believe any of that, basic white man, fuck that shit. And they told Jack to pretty much shut the fuck up, we're staying all night if we need to. On arriving to the lake, Little Jack laid down the ground rules for the day's hunt. He instructed the seers to stay on the south side of the lake and place the father in a thicket overlooking a clearing that was bordered by the lake. The son was to canoe along the lake to the east point and set up his hunting spot along the marshy area. Both men promised they would not cross the lake, which wasn't wide at that point, and the guide would go between the two men frequently to check in on them. Little Jack was nervous and spent a great deal of the time that morning being sure his customers were staying in their assigned hunting spots.
What I find interesting about that is that he was so worried about his customers and the fact that they weren't veering off of where he showed them or just going into a remote area where he couldn't find them, because that's how much he feared what would come at night. He was like, oh shit, if one of these guys goes missing, I'm gonna get in trouble for it, and that thing's gonna eat them alive. Because he knew what was out there. He just didn't tell them right away.
Thing is, too, for this time, is that a Native American is not really able to speak up as much. If a white man tells him that they're doing something, as much as he can try to deter them, if something happens to one of them, it's on him and he's more than likely going to be hanged. At about noon, Little Jack told Mr. Sears to begin to get ready to leave, promising to be back early in the next morning. He then began to turn and leave, but Mr. Sears was prominent that he's going to stay at the lake. Little Jack turned to see the young Mr. Sears paddling across the lake already very close to the other side. Little Jack began to run, yelling and waving, trying to get the young Mr. Sears to turn around and come back. I guess he didn't see him or didn't hear him, whatever, he was ignoring him. Didn't turn around, kept going. It was at this time Mr. Sears Sr. notices a large shape moving in the tree line along the shore of the opposite side of the lake. Thinking it was a moose, he called out to Little Jack, whom at this point was about to land his canoe on that side. Little Jack was frantic and turned to tell Mr. Sears Sr. to remain silent. Getting into the canoe, Little Jack began to paddle as quickly as possible, but by this time young Sears was already landing and pulling his canoe up onto the opposing shore. Little Jack again tried to call young Mr. Sears back, but the young man ignored his calls and walked into the woods. In the time it took for Little Jack to cross the lake, he heard the reports of young Sears, his rifle just going off. He fired several times before just a deafening silence. As Little Jack was about to land his canoe, young Mr. Sears came running back, full speed, out of the tree line as if something was chasing him. Little Jack had no time to land his canoe, but raised his own rifle, firing a few shots into the tree line, trying to get whatever's chasing him. A large, upright, hair-covered beast emerged from the tree line after young Mr. Sears. In a few short steps, the beast was upon young Sears, and the beast reportedly decapitated him with just grabbing his head and just twisting it off, and just pulling the torso down. And so that's when it just started walking away with just dragging one arm, or dragging him by his leg with one arm, and just, holding the other head, just walking back. Little Jack was just emptying his entire rounds of ammunition on the thing, and at this point he just started paddling back. I mean, what else are you gonna do? Little Jack then fled back to Mr. Sears. It was reported that Mr. Sears Sr. insisted on going after the beast, having witnessed the entire event from his vantage point on the opposing side of the lake. But Little Jack refused and almost had to drag the distraught father away from the area. When having reached their camp at the Matawa River, Little Jack insisted they pack and paddle to the nearest settlement, which they reached by the following morning. It was reported to a local constable, whom led a search party that included both Little Jack and Mr. Sears Sr., and several loggers and woodsmen to the lake, where they searched for several days, finding only young Mr. Sears' broken rifle and a short trail of blood at the actual area of death of Mr. Young Sears. It is reported that the searchers all heard beastly screams and howls on those nights when the search would be suspended due to the coming darkness. And eventually they just gave up out of pure fear because every night the howls and screams just got closer and closer to the camp. Now, Little Jack handled this the best he can. Out of this entire story, he's the only one that knew what the fuck to do. If the two fucking guys just listened to him, they would have avoided this entirely. They should have listened to him from the beginning. Do not go to this campground. That's far from everything. Do not stay when it starts getting close to dark. Do not cross the river. He knew about this cave. He knew about this creature. And obviously, as usual, the white man wanted to push things and get themselves into trouble, just like they do with everything that they don't believe in, until suddenly they have witch trials and hunting werewolves out through all of Europe and just torturing the masses.
He might have done, like, everything that he could have at that point. Like, he did all of the steps you're supposed to do, keep people away from the area that you know where the monster is. But I mean, Wendigo, in the translation of its name, its meaning, is the evil spirit that devours mankind. But after that translation was discovered in 1960, a German explorer translated it to just cannibal. So that's a little iffy to me, because the evil spirit that devours mankind, that puts like the fear into a person's heart. That captures them. If you just say cannibal, they're gonna think it's some crazy dude who lives out in the woods that you can kill normally. But with a Wendigo, you can't kill them normally, because they're hunters by nature. They're extremely fast, and they don't allow anything to get in the way of their never-ending hunger. And again, even if you can escape, the mental damage that does, you'd be stuck in an insane asylum for the rest of your goddamn life. And even though there are points in a Wendigo's, like, life where they hibernate for months or years, it doesn't mean that it went away. So if it's like it hibernates for 20 years and people start forgetting about it, and then it happens again, and that fear that people once had just comes crawling back with a vengeance. And they can stalk their victims for extended periods of time. Thanks to supernatural speed, endurance, they may be blind, but their senses are like 30 times that of any living creature.
And with their determination to always catch their prey, I believe that the only thing that really saves most people after they had been caught by this, or their scent has been caught by the Wendigo, is simply going to a settlement, going to a city, being surrounded by people, because a Wendigo, as much as it will fucking just destroy a town if it wanted to, they'd prefer to just pick you off one by one. If you're surrounded by people, it's gonna just try to pick you off, get you out of the woods. That's why they mimic. That's why they lure you. Even though that it could easily take out a army of men, it would rather play with its meal, I guess.
Right. I mean, you brought up the fact that they lure in their prey, and they do it by, like, shrieks and growls, because people see that, they're like, oh, what is that noise? That's probably bigger game I can hunt. Or something like that. Or they mimic human voices so perfectly that anybody in your hunting group, if they get killed, you don't actually know if they die because you'll still hear their voice thanks to this thing. And its hearing is so good, it can hear your heartbeat from miles away. Like, and it's so strong, it can uproot a tree. Like, it gives no fucks. If you're hiding behind a tree, the thing is coming out of the ground and your ass is dead. But the one thing that you need to remember, if you go into one of these rumored Wendigo hotspots, have silver bullets, a silver blade, just something silver that's sharp, or a bullet that you can use to kill this thing, and then dismember the body, salt it, and set it on fire. That easiest way to get rid of these things. And if you skip a step, this thing will be able to come back, and it will come back hunting for you. It will not target anyone else. It'll just come straight for you because you're the last thing that it remembers. And mind you, this is like mindless hunting beast that all it knows is basic animal instinct: hunt, kill, eat. That's it.
And you mentioned that you need silver weapons pretty much, and that if you do it wrong, that it'll come back. Wendigo have extremely fast healing process, especially if it's not silver or fire. Like, always, like, bring a fucking blowtorch. Like, when in doubt, make sure it's fucking ash. But if you graze it, shoot it, stab it, decapitate it, and you use the wrong weapon, it will heal. Be it a few seconds, minutes, maybe even hours. But it's gonna heal faster than you are going to be able to even handle.
Hell, one of the smartest things you could do is bring a fucking flare gun and just load a canister and be like, alright, I got this. But even then, you're like hitting fucking Sonic the Hedgehog running around in trees, man. But another important fact, for the love of God, or whatever you believe in, do not think you are safe just by going into, like, a house or something and locking the doors. 'Cause this thing can unlock the door and get into the house. And it will kill all of the inhabitants. It does not give a flying fuck. It will mercilessly kill them and eat them. So it can build up basically storage in its body for hibernation. That's what it does. It hunts until it doesn't need to hunt anymore, hibernates, comes back. And it's just really fucking crazy because it can cause a lot of weird phenomenon around the areas where it's kind of located. Like, it can cause a famine because it's just killing and leaving dead bodies everywhere. And that'll, like, destroy the plants and shit that's there. But the biggest part is that if someone sees a Wendigo and they are, like, adamant about not talking about it, that man needs, like, counseling for the rest of his life or her life. Anybody that sees it. Oh, fuck, I cannot stress this enough. If you see one and you survive, please do not think you will be okay by any means. It will fuck with your head. And another like example I would say is like the Dahmer Party theory I was telling you about. Mm-hmm. The Dahmer Party were going west. They ran out of food during the winter, and they started eating each other. The theory is that the ones who survived and ate the others eventually did become Wendigos. Although it's not really like a proven case or anything, because there's no real way we can check that. Because that was, oh god, what, 200 years ago? Something like that? Mm-hmm. It was a long ass fucking time ago. But the main areas of concentration are the city of Kenora in Ontario, that general area, and like parts of Minnesota, Montana, that kind of thing, like north midwest of North America. That is probably the greatest area of sightings for Wendigos, which pretty much makes it the most dangerous area in the world. Especially if you live in the middle of the woods and you think you're all happy and shit. Because then one night you might wake up, you might go to sleep, and you might not wake up.
And you mentioned that the Dahmers, like, they turn into Wendigo. Well, on top of these already being perfect hunters, they're still going to have certain traits from, being human. If that person knows how to, like, get into high security areas or something like that, like, it might be mindless, but it still, muscle memory knows how to do that shit. That's a huge part of why they're so terrifying. Just, the more modern a creature turns, the more terrifying it'll be, because it's one thing to be terrified of something that just lurks in the woods, but something that can just come into a city and hack into your security, that would be absolutely terrifying.
Oh yeah, but just think, like, because it said that, like, the biggest time period for Wendigo activity was, like, 1800s to early 1920s. Imagine if the Mafia, during, like, the early 1900s, figured out a way to control a Wendigo and use that during the 1920s. Oh, fuck. That would be absolutely terrible. Because then they could just point it in the direction of, like, an enemy Don's house or the underboss, something like that, and they'd just be able to unlock the door, slip into your giant-ass fucking house, kill everybody in there, and then just slip away. Like it's a goddamn shadow. These things, I swear to God, you try and put a ninja against this thing, the ninja will end up being bye-bye. Like, it will not exist anymore. That dude's probably gonna be in the Wendigo's belly. Nom 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 nom, me wanna cheese su nipple pinchy pinchy. Like, that motherfucker's gonna get fat from eating these people. And I actually noticed that, like, all the descriptions of Wendigo, doesn't matter how much they eat, they're always, like, super fucking skinny. And it's disgustingly terrifying because they just look like if Slenderman took off the suit, had a mouth, and sunken back glowing eyes, and was just like, I'm gonna fucking eat you. Like, that shit's astronomically insane. But there are sightings. There are multiple people have claimed to see this shit. And I know people are gonna be like, well, that's not even fucking possible because it's supernatural and supernatural stuff doesn't exist. Well, I mean, okay, cool. You're entitled to your own opinion. I'm not gonna tell you you're wrong or anything, but I mean, at one point in the history of the world itself, there was said to be more than just humans. And then there's that whole fucking reptile people living in the center of the earth type shit. But this shit could possibly happen. Same with like a werewolf or a vampire. That shit could happen. Whether it be like from some virus that some government makes or like evolutionary type shit where, you know, fangs come in, you use blood to survive longer or something like that because your genes are trying to survive as long as possible.
And you mentioned evolution. I believe that a lot of Wendigo sort of evolve depending on their area or region. So, like, a lot of serial killers, like Hannibal Lecter and people like that, they're thought to have the curse of the Wendigo, but they're not fully shifting. And I theorize that it could be due to, because their hunting grounds is a highly populated city, they're forced to fight off the curse just enough to blend in, or the curse itself is holding back just to feed as long as possible. Even people who know the killer, they mention how they see him slightly change mentally, physically, after they first start eating people, be it from, you know, accident, survival, or just plain curiosity. I mean, however you get there, it is really easy to get the curse, or possessed by the spirit of it. Just, you know, however you get the Wendigo within you. It can just change you in all ways, and a lot of these people are put down before they can go through the full change. It could take years, centuries, who knows. As long as you're not dead, you don't know how long it'll take before you look like a decaying, creepy, fucking skeletal bitch.
Well, you mentioned Hannibal Lecter, which is a fictional character, but there are people like Albert Fish, Boone Helm, Andre Chikatilo, Jeffrey Dahmer. Those are like some of the most well-named cannibals. Even though I think Albert Fish only actually ate one of his victims, I think. But it's still there, like the curiosity behind eating human flesh. I mean, there was an artist named Rick Gibson and a journalist named William Seabrook, who legally consumed human flesh out of like a curiosity, or just because they just wanted fucking attention. But that's the thing is, I think cannibals like them, they do have the curse, but I think it's the curse has evolved to where it leaves a person with more mentality than a normal Wendigo would have, because they're able to cover their tracks, hunt in a city, and a lot of these guys got away with it for years. They were able to cover this shit up and hide it and throw the cops off their trail for years. And when they were actually caught, it was like immediate death sentence. Fuck that guy, let's put him in the chair, or give him a lethal injection, something like that. Me personally, if you raped a girl, you should already have the fucking death sentence. that's no bueno. But, I mean, if you're going around eating your own kind, that's even worse. 'Cause that's just wrong on so many levels. You will never see me chowing down to some human ribs with some nice ketchup-based barbecue sauce. Like, hell no. Fuck that, man. I am not gonna become, like, the crazy fucking cannibal neighbor, like, your kids look delicious. No. Whoever decided, like, the first man, whoever decided, I wonder what human flesh tastes like. He was severely fucking disturbed and needed to be put down. There is no way around that.
And what's crazy is there's a full island of cannibals, and we can't get anywhere near them to even see what that's doing to them. We don't socialize with them at all because they kill anyone who gets close. So as far as we know, they all have the curse. We don't know if they're aging, if it's the same people. Nothing. We have no info on them besides they're cannibals. That's all we know. And who knows how many people are there. And there's also studies of cannibalism where as long as you don't eat the brain, it doesn't cause a lot of chemical imbalances in you. But let's face it, if you knowingly are eating a person, that's at least going to mentally scar you. I mean, I know I'd be mentally scarred if I just found out after eating a good pork chop that wasn't pork.
Well, even then, I understand where you're coming from. Like, oh man, this is a great pork chop. What would be even worse is if I found out that I was eating somebody's ass meat. I do not want to ever have that happen where somebody's just like, yeah, you just ate some fat guy's ass. Like, oh god!
It's 20.
I don't care if it's 2020, man. I don't want some dude's ass in my mouth. I don't want to go, this is tasty ass meat. I do not want some gourmet chef going, and this is a fine platter of human ass meat that we found in the corner. On the corner of what? With all the hookers? This shit's got AIDS, man! You trying to get me fucked up?
Alright, so now that we got pretty much most of what we wanted to cover, I'm going to just tell you, if you have a case near you that is an immediate threat, but you have time to prepare for, and you can't get a hold of a hunter or of any kind, a professional, just someone that's not you, or at least a team, this is what you're pretty much going to want to set up, in my experience. You're going to want to, first off, have plenty of fire starter. just as much as possible. Just as much
Flare gun!
You're going to want to set up traps. These traps are probably only going to slow it down, piss it off, but if you can just get it stuck long enough to do what you need to, just do it. So, and
if you can even set up traps like this is Home Alone 2, and there's like your best fine silverware that's actually silver. Set it up like the Viet Cong, man. Like, have a fucking pit that's nothing but giant silver knives.
Yeah.
Man.
So, you're pretty much before anything else, you're also going to need bait. And sadly enough, you're probably going to have to be the bait.
Yeah.
So, carry a gun with silver bullets, have a silver weapon that you can just bludgeon or cut it with. Set up a pit, fill it with spikes, set up some kind of string pulley that can trip it, hit it, something, just smack it. Twist it. Bop it. And just have plenty of flare gun ammunition. Have a team ready also. just on the other side, close by to where you're the bait. It's focused on you, and the team is just waiting for the big explosion.
Also, I'm pretty sure you can't just go into like a gun store and be like, "Hey, you got any silver bullets?"
You're gonna have to melt your own.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make that shit on your own.
But yeah. So pretty much, you're gonna have to get a loan out there. You're gonna have to bait it. Cover yourself in as much fucking blood as you can.
Pheromones.
Just anything. Like, you're gonna have to really draw it out. Make sure that you're the only thing it's able to smell. Because if it smells your backup, it's gonna know.
You're gonna have to smell like the damsel in distress that just shit themselves. Basically.
And once you hear something calling your name, something screaming, a baby crying, that's when you start running towards your traps. You fucking have it chase you, and if you set these traps right, you get enough fucking done, you'll get it incapacitated long enough to shoot it several times, covered in gasoline, salt, burn the shit, break it up into pieces with your silver weapon, and then get your entire team to just fully just go crazy on this thing. Just really go at it.
And
just really have some fun with it. It's a great piñata.
Yeah. Make sure it is nothing but a pile of ash. Otherwise, you're screwed. And if you're not prepared, like, you don't have forewarning or anything, I'm pretty sure your best option would be, like, have some homemade silver nitrate grenades or some shit. Or if you can, melt down some silver, like, somehow, and just fling the molten silver on the thing. Or, like, I know most households have, like, fine dining ware, you know, the actual silver shit. Grab as many of those as you can, and just keep, like, if it charges at you, just have, like, a fucking fistful of them, and just keep stabbing the bitch. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. You have to at least hit its heart for it to drop, and then you can just take it out back, chop it up with a axe, grab all the salt you have in the house, some kosher salt, that'll fucking work. Just douse that bitch in salt, douse it in gasoline, and then, whoo! Grab the s'mores.
And we know there's alcohol in your house, so Molotov the shit out
Oh
of it.
yeah, if you can, Molotov the ever-living fuck out of that thing.
You'll never burn it enough.
If you lose your house, at least you'll be alive. It'll be better than sitting there waiting for your own gruesome death. Grab the bottle of Jack that you have in reserve because you're tired of dealing with your kids at the end of the day. Stick a towel in it and then light that bitch on fire and chuck it. Homemade shit is probably the best in a crap scenario. And if you have any aerosol cans and like a grill lighter, have the light going, spray the aerosol, homemade fucking flamethrower, man. That shit is useful. But the one thing that you cannot do, and I know it, God, it's probably the hardest thing not to do. You cannot panic. You cannot let the situation just take you over. You've got to think clearly, you've got to think quickly, and you've got to stick to your plan. Whatever it might be, even if it like came to you last fucking second, stick to it. If you think it'll get you out of there, do it.
And that's it. I plan on covering all kinds of cases, like I said before, maybe giving more personal experiences. I guess we didn't really cover our own this time.
No, not this time, but that might become another episode.
You were definitely going to have to cover Wendigos again because there are more cases.
Oh, yeah, God, there is so many. But we will be back!
And next time talking about ghosts, demons, deities, aliens, vampires, pixies, you fucking name it. So
we might even talk about Godzilla himself!
So catch us next time on A Hunter's Guide. And send us suggestions, questions, messages. Just follow us on Instagram at a.hunters.guide.
Send us something, because eventually we're just gonna be like, we need help with this shit, man. Come on, guys.
Please.